What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you another locals match from the RMC locals. Now this is going to be between Jesmon on the left, and on the right we're actually going to be having Machinedramon. The first time I do believe I am featuring Machinedramon here on the channel. Player who's been grinding it out pretty hard at our recent locals and has been having some pretty good results with the Machinedramon as well. So we're going to see how this match goes. Starting off with the Chikurian raising, then playing the Hagurumon out to get that draw. Want to get those level 5s into the trash as soon as possible so you can get your Machinedramon live. So definitely a very powerful card in the matchup. And then on the other end, we're going to go ahead and get the Guillemon out, got a Blanc to draw a card, and then going to get the red memory boost. Search the top 4, and then later going to be able to delay up and gain 2 memories. So see how impactful that comes in later. But we're going to see a couple of connections here played, so that way we can trash some cards as well as gain some and draw some. Seeing able to go up to 5 memory now because you pay the 1 and then you gain 2 memory, and doing that twice is going to go ahead and get you some extra memory. But going to swing into the Judgment of the Blade first check, which does get a seal out, gaining an extra memory, getting rid of one of the memory. But also once a Huckmon does come out or a Royal Knight comes out, we're going to have multiple blockers on board with that Blanc and those seals. So that's a pretty decent sign going into this, just because there are a lot of rookies out on the board now. One of them just became a Gundramon, but your opponent's already starting to go decently wide. And so being able to get some blockers out early is looking like it's going to be a pretty decent idea. The Guardramon is out and not going to be able to attack, so it's not that big of a deal anymore, because now your opponent essentially has 2 attackers. But still, this is going to be able to chip early really well, and then you're going to be able to go into Machinedramon, and Machinedramon can gain things like Security Attack +2, it can gain Piercing with Blocker and Reboot, and a lot of things that could be very nasty. So you're definitely going to want to reduce the chip damage and start to go in. Going to swing in with the Bauhuck at 6k to pop the Chikurimon. Pogumon's going to hit at another Guardramon, I believe that was. But it's pretty safe because your Bauhuck is sitting at 8k, and you also have 2 blockers, so it's not too bad. You can swing over, and like I said, your opponent's kind of swarming the board, so you want to get some pressure off the board. So being able to get at least one of them is good, because now if your opponent swings in with the Hagurumon, it's an easy block with either of the Sistermon, and nothing's going to get through. So they are going to swing. Not exactly sure why they committed the attack there, maybe seeing if they'll let it go through. But now we're going to see the Machinedramon come out. We already have 3 in the trash, plus you can add 2 from your hand, and so it's going to be fully powered Machinedramon, going to be able to gain 5, put the opponent at 5, and now it's a little hard to see all the inheritables that are on there, but it looks like we have Blocker, Security Attack +1 if your opponent has an unsuspended Digimon, Security Attack +1 if you delete a Digimon, and Piercing. So going to be having potentially Security Attack +2, Piercing, and Blocker. So pretty decent stack going in right there. That's a pretty big card, especially since it's going to be very hard to delete, since you can use the ability to detach 2 pieces to negate the attack. And that's always going to be very powerful in this matchup versus Jesmon, because Jesmon's very much about attacking into Digimon. And so being able to have something that's able to negate attacks while having Blocker is going to be pretty good. Going into the Savior so that you can draw here. Going very wide with the level 3s right now, which means that an Ultimate Flare could be pretty devastating if it does come out. So gonna have to be worried about that, just because it would clear off the Bauhuck, or the Savior Huck, down to a rookie, and then clear off, what is that, 4 rookies, and that's pretty impactful considering you have the Machinedramon out and you're all powered up and ready to go. We're going to go ahead and see them just go straight into the Jesmon, have it out on the board, ready to go next turn. Now Machinedramon's going to go ahead and swing 2 checks in, and then going to be able to go for the Ultimate Flare to de-Digivolve and pop the board. Like I said, the Ultimate Flare was something that was looking really scary and looking very tempting from the Machinedramon player, so if they had it in hand, I could definitely see them going for it, and they are going to be able to play that. You give your opponent a lot of memory like you did last turn, but you got rid of a Savior and a Jesmon, so they're going to have the pieces once again to be able to build back up. So let's see if they can. Gonna go with the Bow and see if they have the Savior. Doesn't look like it. Gonna search with the Huckmon here. Gonna be able to hit Savior and then either the Bauhuck or the Sistermon Blanc, and gonna go with the Sistermon Blanc there. I think that's fine. You're going to want to be able to draw. I don't think you necessarily need another Bow, because you just kind of want to go back up into Jesmon. I think you're trying to hit Savior and Jesmon there, so going to be able to go up into Savior, play the Seal to gain a memory. I would have considered potentially playing the Blanc there, just so that way you could leave your opponent at 1 and they can't do too much, because now you're probably going to have to leave them at either 2 or 3 memory, which I guess isn't that big of a deal considering that they are playing pretty big cards, but you would be able to shorten their turn a little bit. But gonna go ahead and play the Blanc out. I did see them draw the Jesmon from the Blanc, so next turn they could go up into the Jesmon if they have the memory, of course. Well, no matter what, they could go into it, but if they do have the memory, that's going to be a lot more helpful because then they can swing with it on the same turn. They can go ahead and swing with the Higurumon right now, but there's so many blockers that it's not really going to do anything. You will get deleted and be able to use your Pagumon if that's something that you're interested in doing for search, but other than that, the Higurumon swinging doesn't make too much sense. You did get your opponent down to 0 security, so they have to respond now. They have to get rid of this Machinedramon pretty soon, as well as the other Digimon on the board, or else they're just going to be able to take you out. And putting the opponent at 1, no longer having the red memory boost, which means that they're not going to be getting up into Jesmon this turn unless they're playing something like the Gravity Crush, which I don't believe is in this list. And that's going to be a pretty big issue because next turn Machinedramon's going to be able to attack. You're going to have to block there. The Hagurumon's going to be able to attack. You're going to have to block there. And then you're going to have one blocker left. And so if they get a couple Digimon out, you're going to have to start shaving off of your blockers a little bit just to save yourself. You might have to go into Jesmon this turn and then just go for all of the blocks next turn and then just hope that you survive, make it back, and then go in for a big Jesmon turn. You don't have tie out and you don't have the starter deck Greymon underneath the Savior either. So with Jesmon, you're not going to really be doing any checks anyway. I think it's mostly just going to be for being able to delete the Digimon that's on the board and make it so that you can survive with your Sistermon blockers. But we're going to see Jesmon come out, going to leave the opponent at 2, and now they're going to start attacking in. Able to block with the seal there. Still got 2 more blockers to the 1 card that can attack. Only 2 memory means that unless you gain some memory, you're not going to be able to Digivolve on top of these Guardramons and get another attack in. So don't think you're actually going to be able to go for game as the Machinedramon player this turn. And looking at the hand, I don't see any big option cards, so not going to be able to get rid of the Jesmon either. And so I mean, that would be pretty big deal because once again, we're at a situation where Ultimate Flare is looking really good. Gonna be able, even if you gave your opponent a lot of memory, if you're able to clear off this Jesmon plus the Blanc and the Huckmon, you'd be looking in a pretty good spot with just a Seal on the board and a Biomon coming out of Raising, and you still have 5 security with all of these Digimon on the board. Chumon, I think, is a very strong card here, making it so your opponent can't gain any memory. The only way that they're really going to be gaining memory right here is dropping a Seal off of the effect, which right now is guaranteed to happen, so bringing the Chumon out so no memory gain happens. I don't think gaining the memory here is really going to matter too much. Gonna go for Judgment of the Blade, very interesting. Gonna swing into one of the Guardramons. Gonna be able to play the Blanc to draw a card, and then will unsuspend with the Savior. Bauhuck popping the Chumon, so being able to clear 2 Digimon off the board, and we're gonna get 2 checks, and it's Ultimate Flare. The card that I was saying is very impactful, and they're actually just going to go ahead and scoop it up right there. I don't think it makes that big of a difference. You're definitely not winning that game after that Ultimate Flare. Your whole board just got cleared, and then the Digimon on the opponent's end are just going to go ahead and swing next turn. So that Ultimate Flare is very impactful. Only got 1 security check through that entire game, and it was the Ultimate Flare to come in and clear the board. So 2 Ultimate Flares were essentially board clearing that game, and that can show the power of Ultimate Flare, especially with these Machinedramons and all the blockers, really slowing down the game, even versus Jesmon's Piercing, and then making it so your opponent kind of has to not essentially overextend, but they did play a lot of cards on the board that did play into the Ultimate Flare, and it happened twice, so both times was punished. I do think hitting the top check of the Ultimate Flare is a bit unfortunate for the Jesmon player, but the fact that they had 5 security left, there was probably a pretty decent chance that you were still going to hit something in security, whether that be an Ultimate Flare or maybe an Iron Fisted Onslaught or something like that, or even you could potentially hit the Ultimate Connection, which would end your turn and go back to the opponent's turn, which even then would also be pretty bad for the opponent, for the Jesmon player, even with their blockers, just because there's only so many blockers that they can use to block, and eventually they're just going to run out of steam. So I do think the Jesmon player there needed that Judgment of the Blade to be able to swing over multiple Digimon and clear with the Bauhuck to really make it, and then the Ultimate Flare said otherwise. But now getting into this game, we are seeing them just build all the way up into a Metal Greymon here, on top of the Guardramon. So gonna have the Guardramon Inheritable, which is fairly decent, and then on the other end they finally got a check in early, so this time getting on the board early, getting that early check, which could help. If that was an Ultimate Flare again, it wouldn't be as bad right here. Another early red memory boost, and going to be able to pop it early so that way you can build up, go into your champion, and then go up into your ultimate. But we're going to go ahead and see the Metal Greymon come out. The Metal Greymon's effect will delete the Blanc, and then with the Guardramon, you are able to discard a card to be able to draw 2. So going to go ahead and do that and get some extra value. Another Blanc going into the trash. So once you go into Jesmon, you do have a decent amount of targets to be able to play out of the trash, which is going to be helpful as the Jesmon player. We saw the use of of those blockers coming in game one, and you just might have to have that kind of blocker power again going into this game, just because if we look at the opponent's board, they're already starting to go pretty wide again. They already have an ultimate out, so if they wanted to start to Digivolve up, they could. I don't think they're playing any other megas outside of Machinedramon, and I don't know how good Digivolving Machinedramon just straight up is going to be. I don't think it's going to be that terrible, but most of the time you're going to want to hard play, so this ultimate might just stay as an ultimate, which means that you're going to have to be scared of playing rookies on the board. They will get popped by the opponent's trigger, and then they're going to be able to go with the Gargemon effect again to draw 2 cards. So Gargemon coming through with a crazy amount of cycle and discard. So Judgment of the Blade is going to come out, be able to play the Blanc, will add to hand, and then get to draw a card. So pretty decent value. Another Sistermon coming out that will have blocker next turn and be able to make it so that your other Sistermon can also have blocker. And on the right, the Machinedramon player is kind of just popping off. A lot of drawing and trashing that happened this turn, and now we're going to go into the Machinedramon, going to be able to put 5 underneath and gain that 5 memory. And so let's see which 5 they want to put underneath. It looks like we're going to have blocker, reboot, security attack +1 once your opponent has an unsuspended Digimon, the ability to delete a 5 cost or less when attacking, and piercing. So pretty stacked Machinedramon right there. We can really see every time you play at a Machinedramon, it can be very different Machinedramon than the last Machinedramon you played as far as inheritables, but no matter what, it's going to be very powerful. But we do know Jesmon. Jesmon can go pretty crazy, so this might not be too much for Jesmon to handle. We do have the Savior Hook with a Sistermon. Going to be able to play another Sistermon when you attack and unsuspend, so there's going to be a lot that's going to be able to go on here. Delicate Plan once again, so no Ultimate Flare coming out this time. If you had the Ultimate Flare over the Judgment of the Blade that first game, could have potentially been a little bit better. So going to go ahead and draw, unsuspend, and swing over the Metal Greymon. It looks like, are they going to choose to block, or are they just going to let it go through? Looks like that they're thinking about it right now. Going to go ahead and be able to block, and then go ahead and Digiburst, or not Digiburst 2, but remove the 2 to make it so that you can negate that attack right there. And then you're going to want to probably attack into the Metal Greymon again, I assume, as the Jesmon. Let's see if they have a Sistermon to play. I would assume at this point that they would have another one in hand. Yep, the Seal is going to come out, go ahead and gain 1. Pogumon's going to whiff, hitting an Ultimate Flare to put that to the bottom. So I bet that's something you're not too upset to see as the Jesmon player here. So got that piercing check through, was able to get rid of one of the Digimon on the board in that Ultimate. So now your blockers are a little more safe because they can't get that when attacking with the Metal Greymon, as well as being able to shut off the ability to draw 2 with that Gargemon inheritable is also going to be pretty good, because we saw that give a lot of value. There was a lot of drawing and trashing going on between the Gargemon inheritable, the ultimate connections, and just the general when attacking effects being able to trash. So you're at 4, so we're going to be able to go into Omnimon here, be able to unsuspend. We still have piercing, so we're going to go ahead and swing through. Piercing with the Delicate Plan still active. Going to hit the ultimate connection, but the Delicate Plan is in there, so going to negate that out, and you're at 0. So what are you going to do now? You're able to clear off the board, get a couple checks. You have a pretty decent board going for you now. You have the Blancs, you have the Seal, and you have a level 7, another Seal. So actually with the level 7, you're not going to be able to de-digivolve all the way down to a rookie. So even if Ultimate Flare came out, you would only be able to pop the Blancs here. And so the Ultimate Flare, which was something that was very scary in the previous set, is not as scary anymore. The Machinedramon is going to go ahead and attack. The Mamimon inheritable is going to allow it to pop a Blanc, and so very good. One less blocker on the board, and once another Blanc goes, then you're going to be able to make it so that you can just have it so your opponent doesn't have any blockers. So once again, another Machinedramon coming out. This one having security attack +1 when your opponent has an unsuspended Digimon, piercing, plus 2000 DP on your opponent's turn, as well as 2 blocker inheritables. So potentially not as strong as the other Machinedramons we've seen, but still very powerful, and another Machinedramon on board that this Jesmon player is going to have to deal with. Gonna go ahead and swing security. Bauhuckmon will pop the Pagumon, and didn't actually see the check right there off the Pagumon, but now they're deciding if they want to block or not. They have the 2 Machinedramons, and they're going to be able to restand with the Savior Hook, so regardless, he's going to be able to swing again with the Omnimon here. Let's see if they want to block with the other Machinedramon. Even if they do, there are 3 attacks on board with the 2 Seals and the Blanc, and so if they don't die in security, this could potentially be game. So we're going to go ahead and see the trashing 2 of the bottom again, and let's see if these Sistermons can't do it. I assume you're going to go ahead and commit the attacks here. Blanc goes in, hits tie, irrelevant, going to go ahead and swing in, hit tie again, so bottom 2 checks tie, and then Seal's going to be able to take it. So very different set than the first game. I felt like the Machinedramon player was very far ahead a lot of the time, time thanks to those ultimate flares coming out. And this time, not so much. The Jesmon player was much more suited for the ultimate flares throughout most of this game, as well as had the delicate plan, and then just being able to go with the Jesmon turn into the Omnimon was a pretty good momentum swing, and then all these Sistermons swarming out being played for free from the Jesmons and the Savior Hooks was just too much offensive aggression for the Machinedramon player there at the end, and we're actually just going to see a hard play War Growlmon. So this one can delete when attacking, so I would assume you'd potentially want to either Digivolve on top of this Hookmon, or you'd want to swing it in. They're going to go ahead and choose to go with the Digivolve option, so you got the extra blocker on the board. Doesn't able to block the Growlmon too cleanly, just because the Growlmon has a higher DP, but now they're not going to be able to pop anything on the board. You also got the Seal out as another Digimon on board that will be able to gain blocker if you get a Blanc out, and we do know that that is fairly impactful. And then we're actually going to see the Digivolve on top of the Machinedramon, which is the first time I think I've ever seen a Machinedramon player actually Digivolve the Machinedramon on top of an ultimate instead of hard playing it. So I think I alluded to that a little bit earlier about how normally you don't want to Digivolve on top just because you don't get as much value, and I think that kind of comes through here. You're not going to be able to trash the bottom two, so you can't use that effect. And then we saw the ultimate flare top check again, and that was something that was very devastating game one, but this time not so much. Able to clear off the Bao Huckmon, which is a little annoying, but it's not something that they can't deal with. And then the Gardramon coming out, so a decent blocker with having that great inheritable. That is inheritable you're definitely going to want to start getting going. Seeing the Machinedramon player's hand so far has been pretty clunky. Hasn't really done anything too impactful. Hard played an ultimate, Digivolved into a Machinedramon, which again is something not super great. So we're gonna have to see if you can go on top of this Gardramon and start to get some more draw going and some more trashing. Still getting some decent aggression early on though, because already down to 3 security on the Jesmon side. But you do have a few blockers on the board. Looks like they were going to block with the Seal, but then decided to go with the Cordramon, and the opponent allowed it to happen. So no big deal. Want to keep your Sistermons on the board, so that way there's blockers. I do like that just because the Cordramon could get de-Digivolved and ultimate flared and deleted, as to where the Seals and ultimate flare are going to be safe. Hit a few checks off the Hookmon here. Going to go with the Blanc and the Jesmon here. So still looking for the Savior so you can build all the way up. But there is just a lot going on for the Jesmon player right here. We already have 5 Digimon on the board. To your opponent's 3 blockers, but the Machinedramon is so much weaker than it normally is. Doesn't have all the crazy inheritables. Doesn't have the piercing. Doesn't have the ability to negate the attacks. And just has these Gardramons which can't attack. They are very annoying blockers, but you're not really getting that much offense going, especially because the Jesmon player has extra blockers to just dispose of at this point. So those Machinedramon attacks coming in can just be blocked by any of these, and it won't be that big of a deal because once we get up into a Jesmon, they will be played for free. I'm going to go ahead and block with the Gardramon again, playing around the ultimate flare a little bit and leaving the Sistermons on the board. Going to go ahead with the Mamimon on top effect. Didn't hit a level 6, so nothing going on there. But they're starting to get their little bit own aggression on the Machinedramon side now. The blockers from the Jesmon player are not doing it quite as much. Gonna be able to play a Sistermon. Do they want to go with Seal or do they want to go with Blanc? I know I can see a Seal in hand, which would be able to gain a memory, go back to 0, and then you would potentially be able to go into Jesmon if you have it, which could be a good idea just because you don't have a memory tamer and your opponent's probably going to try to make it so you don't have 3 anyway, so you can't go into the Jesmon. So let's see what happens here. Let's see if the ultimate flare does come back out again. That would be pretty scary right now because you'd only have the Seals left on the board, and having those are not going to be that impactful. You really need this Jesmon to come out. You're kind of having a bit rougher of a time right now as the Jesmon player because you whiffed a rookie for a little bit, and although the Machinedramon player had a little bit rough of a beginning start, they're really starting to get the momentum going. They had 3 Gardramons out at one point. The Gardramon went into the Mamimon. The Mamimon can now attack as well as the Machinedramon, so there's just a lot going on. If you can't get rid of this Jesmon, it could be quite the issue, but with no ultimate flare in hand, which I don't believe I see one, getting a little glimpse at the hand there, it's going to be a little rough. Okay, and tie changes everything. So now going to have Scaredy Attack +1 on that Jesmon and can no longer be choked, so going to be at 3 no matter what, which could be pretty influential. Putting them at 1 made it so they could only really play 1 option card. But now they can play Delicate Plan and the Judgment of the Blade if they want to. I don't know if they really necessarily need to, but having that extra memory is going to be very good. And then, of course, the tie giving Scaredy Attack +1 to the Jesmon is always going to be very influential because you're going to be able to get a lot of checks. So we're going to be able to swing in here. I'm assuming they're going to target either the Machinedramon or the Metal Mamimon here. So going to be able to play another Blanc, unsuspend with the Savior, and then they will get 2 checks. So let's see what goes on here. gonna be able to get the Pokemon on deletion, and top check is going to be Chikurimon, which will de-digivolve the Jesmon. They don't get the second check anymore because the tie no longer matters, but the thing is, you're at 3 memory, you have an unsuspended ultimate because your ultimate does unsuspend, and you still gained a DP boost as well as piercing on this stack. So if you want to go up into another mega, you essentially could. So we're going to see the Gallantmon come out. The Gallantmon's still going to be able to swing with that unsuspend with the when attacking before the check happened. Piercing at, I believe, 3 checks right now, so there's no point in really blocking right there. Blocking is only going to make it so... Actually, blocking does absolutely nothing because of the piercing, and so we're going to let it go through. Analog going to come through, only able to grab the Haguru here. Second check, another Haguru. Third check is the Machinedramon, and then going to be able to swing in with the 5 blonks on the board to the only 2 blockers, and that is going to be it. So that was a very interesting game. This matchup was very weird. It kind of went back and forth, and it seemed like some players were bricking and some players were playing better, and then they were able to bring it back regardless. But with that being said, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, so I'll be bringing you even more content. If you want some more live content, be sure to check out my Twitch stream. The link is in the description. But with that being said, I hope you all have a great day. Peace out.